Hey, what's up? It's your boy Rawk. I don't know if you can tell, but I like to talk about games. I do it a lot. But my license to do so is about to expire, which leads to me being f***ed 7 ways to Sunday. I've got to prove my worth in the realm of talking about stupid Nintendo games. I thought talking about Banjo-Kazooie would have been more than enough to do so, but no, the system is rigged. So I'm left with no choice. It's time to talk about a bear and a bird. Banjo-Kazooie released for the Nintendo 64 on the 17th of July 1998 here in the UK, and is the crowning achievement of its developer Rareware. This company has a fairly deep history of games, but they're all fans of the term f***ing abysmal. Nah, Rare had some good titles under their belts at the turn of the generation, most notably the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. Some of the best 2D platformers of all time, and I should know, I own and have played one of them. My opinion matters. Banjo-Kazooie's development history is kind of all over the place, starting as an SNES RPG starring a boy that f***ed with pirates for a living, who then turned into a rabbit, and then a bear, who eventually became Banjo. The technology behind the project was made obsolete thanks to the up-and-coming Nintendo 64, however, so the game restarted development on that platform. After a rocky development and the devs just not really finding the game that fun, it was scrapped entirely and reworked into a Donkey Kong-esque platformer. And blam, wouldn't you know it, this honking thing was spat onto store shelves, and to say the world noticed would be an understatement. Contrary to popular belief, this isn't actually the debut of Banjo. For that, we need to jump over to Diddy Kong Racing. I've never heard anyone say that before. Diddy Kong Racing released in November of 1997, and featured a few characters that would go on to star in their own games. Naturally, we have Banjo over here, in all of his fucking disgusting glory. No Kazooie here though, because birds can't drive, dumbass. But we do have Conker the Squirrel, who would later star in the cult classic Conker's Bad Fur Day in 2001. Maybe I'll talk about Conker one day, because his tale is also an incredibly interesting one given how different his game was from Banjo's. Son of a bitch. But hey, you give Banjo a bird, animate and orchestrate the most iconic video game opening known to mankind, and the dynamic duo become the headliners of one of the most beloved franchises in Nintendo's arsenal. A series that was truly deserving of getting new entries for years and years. Oh. Yeah, to help them with their debut in the video game industry, Microsoft snagged Rare and all of their IPs, forcing them to scrap a ton of projects coming to the Nintendo GameCube. And what did Microsoft get out of this acquisition? You sure you wouldn't rather have data design? They actually tried to buy Nintendo outright, and after Nintendo laughed their asses off at the mere idea of that never not happening, Microsoft said, well f*** you then, we'll buy one of your best subsidiaries out of spite. What are you gonna do now? Probably not have Banjo games anymore, you pricks. Now, to Microsoft's credit, they did end up remastering the original N64 games, so you may be asking, am I gonna play the enhanced version? What do I look like, someone who does that? I do have an Xbox One S, but that's a fact I'm trying to get redacted. Keyword trying. No, instead of playing the game in beautiful HD on the Xbox, I'm choosing to play it with actively worse visuals, with a controller with a baffling layout, on a system that nobody outside of this room gives a piss about because Nintendo is better than the stupid fucking Xbox, damn it. The game opens up in Gruntilda's lair, which is shaped like her head because being humble doesn't exist in the witching world, you fucking drip. Grunty asks Dingpot over here who is the prettiest in all the land, and he says her. Just joshing you. In actuality, it's the young bear known as Tootie who is the most beautiful, and to say that Grunty is having none of that would be an understatement and a half. It pisses her off so much that she makes it her goal to kidnap the bear in a loud display of slapstick shenanigans. And Banjo slept through the entire thing. Maybe I am the bear. Nope, I'm just a lazy sack of shit. Kazooie wakes Banjo up, and we head outside to see what all the noise was about. We meet our good pal Bottles, who's such a good pal that we don't even know him yet. This is the first instance where we truly get a feel for Banjo and Kazooie's personalities. Banjo is a kind-hearted, lovable klutz who's generally pretty clueless, but that doesn't stop him from putting his best foot forward. And Kazooie? Kazooie's a spiteful bitch and she's hilarious and I love her. We have just witnessed a slaughter. Not again! Bottles is our tutorial character, and brace yourselves tutorial fanboys, because this time... Thank fuck. And I opted in. Fuck. I'm just such a tutorial fanboy, I couldn't resist. If you're a giant pussy like me, Bottles will be found in molehills around Spiral Mountain, and every time you find him, he'll teach you a new move. But don't even fucking think about leaving before you've learned all of the moves. You signed up for the tutorial, so strap in, bitch! We head up to the entrance of Grunty's lair, and we're greeted by this lovely cutscene of Tooty on her way to being ugly. Looks more like torture to me, but what do I know, I'm not a witch. Inside the lair we learn how to enter levels. We have to find enough jiggies and place them into the jigsaw puzzle for a world, granting us access. And the first world we find is none other than Mumbo's Mountain. This level teaches us exactly what to expect from this game, and in my opinion, is a perfect opening stage for this game. It reminds me a lot of Bob on Battlefield from Super Mario 64, as both do a great job of introducing the player to the game's mechanics in a somewhat safe environment. I'm pretty sure there's a phrase for that. Oh shit, yeah, it's called good game design, who would have thought? But don't be fooled, it's a safe environment, sure, but it isn't so safe that there's no degree of challenge. For a first timer, but after that, yeah, they're pretty damn easy. I've taken naps more challenging than Bob on Battlefield. Huh. You know what, that would explain a lot. In all of the levels in Banjo-Kazooie, there are 3 collectibles to find. The main collectible is the aforementioned jiggies, of which there are 10 in each world. They're obtained through a number of means, and they're all pretty unique compared to the rest. Naturally, there's going to be some repeated tasks when there's 100 jiggies in total, but they're few enough and far enough between that it's an engaging experience collecting all of them. I mean, that alone is enough incentive for me. 1 jiggy per world is obtained through our second collectible, the Jinjos. You know, I never thought I'd be calling a living creature a collectible, but hey, there's something else to check off the bucket list. I'm never gonna die happily, am I? There are 5 Jinjos that are lost in every world, and finding and saving all 5 of them rewards us with a jiggy because we're just so kind. You are literally 4 brisk steps away from safety. Why the hell do you need my help? And finally, every world has 100 music notes scattered throughout, and these are a joy to collect. They're obviously very akin to the 100 coin stars in Mario, but way less tedious. It is literally impossible not to compare these 2 games, I'm sorry. The notes force you to search every nook and cranny of a level, which gives you a greater appreciation for them. And as we learned back in the Green Star Riddle days of Galaxy 2, I love myself some nook and cranny searching. Will the comparisons ever end? The notes are pretty much only used to open note doors, and to my knowledge, you don't need all 900 of them to beat the game. But do I look like someone who doesn't want to collect all 900 notes? Do I have a face? But enough of all that. If you've ever breathed before, then you know what we're collecting in Banjo-Kazooie. So let's talk about where you'll be doing the collecting. Oh shit, it's 6:35, and you know what that means, it's time for me to introduce my level in Banjo-Kazooie 5-point scale. I can't wait to see how Nintendo Land's levels stack up. Mumbo's Mountain is the first level in the game, but you already know that. What did I just spend the last 4 minutes talking about? The level is pretty basic thematically. There's grass, there's hills, it's a fucking party. But as the first level in Banjo-Kazooie, it's pretty damn good. The layout is fun to traverse, it's nice and easy, which is always a treat, and it also introduces us to Mumbo. I swear to God I didn't see that coming. Mumbo Jumbo, as he's officially known, can be found in Mumbo huts in some of the game's levels. If you have enough Mumbo tokens, he'll transform you with the power of his Mumbo magic. That's a 4th thing we have to collect. I mean, if you insist. In Mumbo's Mountain, you get transformed into an ant. Yes. So yeah, I'd honestly say that Mumbo's Mountain is one of the better levels in the game. And once again, in the context of it being the very first level that introduces us to all of the game's mechanics, this score was well earned. Next up we have Treasure Trove Cove. Christ, the N64 can't handle this level. The render distance is pathetically short here, and the amount of visible popping happening at pretty much all times is pretty grotesque. But hey, who knows, maybe it's the N64's fault and not the game's. After all, I did use it as a toaster once. This level is way bigger than Mumbo's Mountain, and is about 4 gallons more open too. That fact alone is enough for this level to rank at least as highly as that level. But that's not all the Cove has going for it. The layout of this area is genuinely one of the best in the game, and the new moves that Bottles teaches you here play a huge role in that. You can fly around, go through this giant rocky bridge looking thing, go inside of a pirate ship, a sandcastle, it's the best. I also love how this level plays on the typical Nintendo trope of the second world being desert themed. Think the new Super Mario Bros. Series. They keep the country's worth of sand, but they put it in a pirate themed beach area instead of a plain old desert, and I absolutely love that. There's just so much to do in this level, so much to explore, even outside of where you need to go for collectibles. It's genuinely great. I also don't have any complaints with this level outside of how much the N64 chokes on it, which, as we'll learn soon enough, is a pretty big deal. This might be my favourite level in the game from a gameplay standpoint, and with that in mind, the score isn't going to be a surprise. CLANKER'S CAVERN. Not doing much for me. I don't know, this level just isn't the most interesting to play, and the visual style it went for is repulsive. It just looks bad. I get what they were going for, but if you ask me, it was pretty poorly executed. I am not a fan at all of the theming of this level, and as soon as I started playing through this one, I was squirming in my seat to stop playing. It doesn't do anything all too offensive in a gameplay sense, but in all honesty, there's way too much water for me. I've never enjoyed swimming controls in early 3D platformers, and would you believe me if I told you that Banjo-Kazooie was one of the earliest 3D platformers ever? No, I would not. Like, am I alone on this one? The controls just don't feel good in the water, and spending more than 2.7 seconds underwater buys you a one-way ticket to the fate of this franchise avenue. And did I mention that a lot of the notes are in the very deepest part of the map, meaning you have to spend a substantial amount of time underwater? This is so fun! Again, it's nothing innately offensive, but for me, this level is just... it's just... BUBBLEGLOOP Swamp is pretty cool, I like it a lot. It plays a lot with height, which is always something I enjoy in games, as it really helps with the scope of the respective levels. It feels substantial, what with the giant trees, the abundance of slopes and hills, and this entire section that takes place way past high up. The upper sections of the level are very distinct from those lower down, which keeps things engaging throughout. The layout is quite unique too, with the middle section and the four larger sections protruding from it, but I'll be honest, I found myself getting lost way more than I expected to. But the game makes up for that with a Mumbo transformation, bitches! The transformation in this level is a tiny crocodile who is just the most adorable and deadly thing you ever did see. We use his lack of size to enter this giant f***er's nostril, where we encounter one of the most infuriating parts of the game. You see, there's another croc in this croc's croc hole, and he challenges us to a number of, challenges. Hell yeah, I've always wanted to f*** up a crocodile as a crocodile in a crocodile's nose, and no, I don't need to fix my priorities. The challenges themselves are fairly straightforward, just be the biggest glutton in all the land. But this little prick always found a way to be at least 13 steps ahead of me and beat me every single time without fail. And what makes that headache-inducingly frustrating is that every time he beats you, he makes a snack out of your arse. Even if you draw, he chows down on you, and if he manages to do this 3 times, you fucking die. This led to, I kid you not, roughly an hour of trying to outglutton this f***er before finally being victorious. Outside of the nostril, this level is pretty good. Inside of the nostril, f*** this level. Freezeezy Peak is a tough one. The level itself is absolutely phenomenal, but 100%ing it can be a bitch. And the sole reason for that is Sir Slush, the snowmen that refuse to fucking die. These guys give me a really hard time in all honesty, but they're a necessity to kill in order to complete the level. That's great. Other than that though, this level is pure bliss. It's obviously very Christmas themed, and I absolutely adore it. The presents strewn about everywhere, the Christmas tree and the twinklies that we need to light the thing up, the gargantuan snowman in the center of the level, it's all just a treat. There's also these little houses that really give this place a cozy feel, and I'm all for a bit of coziness. There isn't really much else to say with this level. The theming is sublime, it's incredibly interesting to traverse, and relatively inoffensive to complete. Minus the snowman bullshit. I'd say it's easily one of the best levels in the game. I mean, come on, you get to race this guy around the level. The score writes itself at this point. Gobi's Valley is fun, it has pyramids, it has animal abuse, and it has speedy f***ing shoes. What more could you possibly want? Desert levels aren't typically the most exciting thing in the world, but this one is really something special compared to the rest. Looking at you, Shifting Sandland. We also have this Sphinx, which I really enjoy. You can run all around the inside and outside of him, which seems to be something of a theme in this game. But even if the layout and gameplay opportunities within the area are great, I still don't care for the desert aesthetic. There's just such little variation in the colour scheme. It's all just slightly different shades of yellow, maybe orange at a push, brown if you're lucky. Oh, Rawk, can you really hate yellow that much? It's my favourite f***ing colour, but that's besides the point. On a brighter note though, this is one of the less tedious areas to 100%. It can still be tricky, no doubt, but nowhere near as bad as some others. I guess the main takeaway from this is that Gobi's Desert, it's pretty good. It's just not super duper memorable. Alright, let's be fair here. What makes Mad Monster Mansion so good? What doesn't? I've talked about this before, but Mad Monster Mansion is the perfect Halloween level in gaming. It's a haunted house in a dense forest with a graveyard, a hedge maze, and a church that you can go inside where you can platform on a giant creepy organ. Every single element of this level works together with the rest so perfectly. The theming is absolutely top notch. And this was one of my favourite levels in the game to complete, even separate from that. There's no competition here. Sure, Treasure Trove Cove also got a 5 out of 5, but it doesn't even come close to overthrowing Triple M over here. It is hands down the best level in the game, and I absolutely love it. Now Rusty Bucket Bay on the other hand can f*** right off. I hate this level so much. It's the absolute bane of my existence. There is just legitimately nothing to like about this level. The visuals and theming are disgusting. Getting all of the collectibles is tedious at best and a fucking nightmare at worst. And the level doesn't even have any interesting design quirks. It's just repetitive, arbitrarily difficult, and an absolute chore to work through. The section inside the boat with all the spinning platforms and fans and cogs is the worst thing in the game. The slope detection just fucks off here and kills you far too easily and far too frequently. You spend so long in there just to either die inside unfairly or finally get everything and realize that that's not even a quarter of the level. So many times I finally get everything inside the boat and died later on because the level just wanted me to go fuck myself. And you know what? I will! This is going to feel fucking great! The final level in the game is Click Clock Wood. This one is so good. Conceptually, this is the most intriguing level in the game, no doubt. You see, the level is split up into 4 different sections, each one being a different season. This alone sounds like it would be a really unique and interesting concept, but what really puts it over the edge is the fact that one individual section is bigger than most of the others in the game, thanks to the concept of traversing an enormous tree. The 4 sections are the exact same level, just with seasonal changes, so this makes a lot of sense. But the differences between all 4 incarnations are pretty substantial, so it feels unique to go through all 4 of them. Admittedly, it can be quite tedious if you die near the end of the completion process, because each individual season takes a decent amount of time to complete, but it's not so much of a problem that it detracts from the experience all too much. Also, B. Well, there we have it. We've wrapped up the first use of my level in Banjo-Kazooie 5-point scale, and I can't wait to see its long and expansive career. Once we've beat all the levels, it's time to take Grunty down, and this segment of the game is potentially the best case for the personality of the game as a whole. The final stretch before the actual battle is a game show, Grunty's Furnace Fun, and this is amazing. We move along square by square, and each one has a unique challenge for us to take part in. Sometimes it's an enemy encounter, sometimes it's a question about the game or Grunty herself, and sometimes it's a test based on an image from one of the game's locations. This is really fun and is such a fitting way to end off Banjo-Kazooie, as most of the questions relate directly to aspects of the game that make it stand out even to this day. The only mild complaint is that this thing can take forever to get through, but it's enjoyable enough that that's not a massive deal. When we reach the end of the board, Grunty retreats, and we save our sister Tootie, and the credits roll, showcasing every single character throughout the game, which is just the cherry on top. We cut to the gang having a barbecue and generally just enjoying their lives after emerging victorious. Wait, we never actually killed her. Oh, son of a bitch! This is it, the final showdown against the Wicked Witch Gruntilda. This fight can go fuck itself. The biggest reason I hate this fight is because of this section here in the air. I cannot land this move for the life of me, which is also why I hated the snowmen in Freeze Easy Peak, but it's somehow so much more frustrating here. Beyond that, the last section is a little bit super fucking annoying, but when we're finally able to pump enough eggs into this statue, we unleash the almighty Ginginator, who deals the killing blow to Gruntilda. The witch plummets from Spiral Mountain, and in a very Looney Tunes fashion, hits the ground in a hair-shaped crater. And just in case this wasn't enough to kill her, whablamo! She's crushed under a boulder. Christ. And that is the end of Gruntilda's story, and the gang continue their party on the beach. We get a preview of Banjo-Tooie, which is such a neat touch. I honestly wish more games would do this. As long as they stick to it. Imagine getting a tease for Chibi Robo 2 at the end of the original, what a tease that would be. But considering Banjo-Tooie did indeed happen, this was awesome. The entire credits sequence plays again, which is stupid, and then wait a minute. Who the f*** is she? And that was Banjo-Kazooie, one of the greatest games to ever grace a Nintendo platform. Now, is it as flawless as everyone makes it out to be? God, no! As someone who doesn't have any nostalgia whatsoever for this game, I am more than able to see all of its blunders. There are definitely some areas where the game falls a bit flat, and even if you can't see that, Rusty Bucket Bay exists, so f*** everything about your argument. And yet despite that, this game is still phenomenal. It is the shining example of a 3D collectathon, and the frustrating parts are worth suffering through because the entire rest of the experience is so sublime. The game is far from perfect, and yet I still absolutely love it. It's so charming, it's so full of life and character, and the gameplay itself is really fun. After finally beating Banjo-Kazooie, I only have one question remaining. Who the f*** was that human woman, and what was she doing in this game where there are no other humans, all of the speaking parts are from animals, and the closest thing to a human is Gruntilda, and even still she's a witch, and she certainly does not imply the existence of humans that look like this. What the f*** is going